This is a rusty brown spring craw, and this video will show you how to tie it. Crawdad patterns don't get enough love. Spring, summer, and autumn months can all be great times to chuck a crawdad, and almost all fish love to eat them. Get started with some 140 Flymaster Plus thread on a Gamakatsu B10S Stinger, size 2. Start your thread at the front of the hook and create a small base for your barbell eyes. First, add a dab of super glue to the thread wraps, and then create a very sparse noodle of dubbing for the foundation. This will help keep those eyes straight and on top of the hook. To add our barbell eyes, just hold them across the hook shank, like so, and add 3 wraps to secure them, and then 3 wraps to straighten them out. Make sure they're placed where you like before cranking down on some solid thread figure 8s and under wraps. That should do just fine. Bring your thread to the back of the hook, just above where the old barb was. Here we're going to add crystal mirror flash. Grab 1 or 2 pieces of flash from the hank and secure them to one side of the hook shank while wrapping forward. Then fold the remaining materials back on the opposite side of the hook shank and wrap your thread back over the top to secure the rest of the flash. You can trim your flash to length at that point. Along with this flash, we need to add some Superfloss. This stuff is awesome. I'm using Bonefish tan for just a bit of contrast to what will be a rusty brown craw. Grab 1 string of Superfloss and fold it in half. Trim the middle loop to create 2 equal pieces of floss. Tie this material on the same way as the mirror flash, one side at a time. Whenever you finish tying in the floss, you'll be left with a small bump at the end of the fly that will need to be covered up with dubbing. This will be the head of the crawfish. We're going to use BC Brown Mohair Plus. We want this head to be buggy and bulky, so we'll use a dubbing loop. You could use a traditional dubbing loop here, but I like to use the split thread version. Spin your thread counterclockwise to flatten it out and use your thumbnail and bobbin to divide the thread in the middle. Split the thread down about 3 inches and add a bit of dubbing wax to the center portion. Feel free to be generous with the dubbing for this loop. We can always trim it down and pull some out if we need to. Slide your dubbing into the 3-inch loop and then spin your bobbin clockwise to bind it all together. When sufficiently twisted, begin making thread wraps towards the back of the fly and relegate this dubbing to just cover the back portion of that fly where the flash and floss were both tied in. Pull the material back with each wrap to ensure it faces the rear. Once complete, preen the fibers rearward and remove any loose mohair dubbing. For the claws, I just use Marabou. Yeah, not very fancy or adventurous, but it works like a charm. Strip 1 feather from the bunch and stroke the fibers towards the tip. Add a little saliva if you need to tame the fluffy Marabou tuft. Tie the first claw on the front side of the hook, right at the base of the mohair dubbed head. The head will help splay the Marabou out for a more prominent looking claw. Capture the Marabou with a pinch wrap and tie down the tag end of the feather alongside the hook all the way up to the barbell eyes. This will help secure that Marabou in place and build up the body just a little bit so you don't have to use as much dubbing. Trim your excess and bring the thread back to the original tie-in point for the other claw. Just like before, secure another tuft of Marabou on the opposite side of the hook shank. Again, bringing the thread forward to secure the tag end to the hook. Clean up the body a bit with thread wraps after trimming the excess Marabou, and then leave your thread on the back of the fly. Next, grab a brown Grizzly Hackle from a premium cape and strip the fluffy fibers from the butt section of the stem. Trim the stem to create a manageable tie-in point, and then secure the feather with the shiny side facing you to the front side of the hook. With the feather hanging from the rear, we can finish making the body, this time with rusty brown Mohair Plus dubbing. It's fun to mix and match colors to make a crawfish pattern that draws attention. This dubbing will be spun onto the thread in the traditional fashion, making the noodle a bit heavier and robust to ensure plenty of dubbing to tease out at the end. Wrap your rusty brown dubbing forward towards the barbell eyes. Don't worry if it's a bit messy. We're going to clean it up in a bit. I'm doing mine in sections because I didn't have much room for a long noodle. You can do yours any way you like. Once you get to the front of the fly, it's time to begin palmering our hackle forward. With close but not touching wraps, wrap your grizzly brown hackle over the top of the rusty brown mohair dubbed body. I like to use two hands when wrapping my hackle, one to wrap the feather and the other to hold it on the backside of the fly to ensure it doesn't slip. Hackle pliers would probably work better, but I like to do things the hard way sometimes. Once you get to the barbell eyes, make a few extra wraps of hackle before locking it down with thread wraps over the top of the feather and in front. A quick tug at the hackle tag will free it from the fly. To buggy up the body a bit and flatten some of those hackle fibers to the side, use your favorite dubbing brush. A popsicle stick with a Velcro patch works great. Brush the hackle feathers and mohair dubbing rearward and to the sides to create a more realistic crawfish body type. Finish the fly off with some more BC brown dubbing wrapped around the barbell eyes and head of the fly before adding your half hitches and trimming your thread. This is by far my favorite pattern for smallies, crappies, bluegills, perch, largemouth, carp, and any other species that preys upon crawfish. Spring is probably my favorite time to use it too, hence the name, but it works throughout the year. They're fun to tie and even more fun to fish. I hope it helps you catch more fish on your home waters. Here are all the materials you'll need to tie up some spring craws. Give Lori a call if you need help finding materials, and make sure to let your local fly shop know that you want them to carry Larva Lace products. Tie up some of your own spring craws and share your experience on the Fly Tying University's Facebook page. It's a community for all fly tyers. Larva Lace is a proud partner of the Fish Stories Archive, preserving fishing stories for future generations. Thanks for tying with Larva Lace. Tight lines and well-tied flies.